This is Miss Mary here at the St. Francis Library, showing you the first of our Mid-Kid Fear Factor activities that we have for you this month. Our first activity is going to be our Bloody Band-Aid snack. For this activity, you will need the following materials. You'll need 1 wafer cookie, a dab of white frosting, a dab of fruit jelly. For this one, I'm using strawberry. You will also need some sort of utensil to spread the frosting and jelly with. You can use a knife or toothpicks, whatever you would like. The first step for this activity is going to be taking a dab of our white frosting, and we are going to put that in the center of our wafer cookie. We're going to make it look just like the gauzy pad on a Band-Aid. So we spread it out kind of in a square shape like this. So there we go. Next, we're going to take some of our fruit jelly, and this is where it gets a little bloody. I'm going to use a toothpick so I don't get too much on there right away. But we're just going to kind of add some on top of the frosting and kind of spread it out. Looks a little oozy, like we got into a really bad scrape, maybe on our bike or something like that. And you can spread the frosting and the jelly as thick as you'd like. I've made this one rather thick, but here you have it. Here is our Bloody Band-Aid. The next activity that we're going to do is going to be our spooky shadow puppets. So for this activity, you're going to need the following supplies. You're going to need a thick piece of paper that you can either print a picture on, like I have, or that you can draw your own scary image to use for your puppet. You'll also need some cellophane to make see-through pieces for your puppet. You can use clear or colored. I found some red that I'm going to use. You'll need some scissors to cut out your puppet, a craft stick to help make it easier to handle, and then some tape or glue to put everything together. So the first step for our shadow puppets is going to be to create and then cut out your image. Like I said before, you can always draw your own image. What I have done is I printed out a ghost picture, and I've actually already started to cut it out. But before I finish cutting out my ghost, one thing I wanted to mention is that if you have any interior pieces, like eyes or a mouth, you'll definitely want to cut those out so that way the light can go through and we'll definitely get our really creepy shadow effect. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to finish cutting this out, and then we can add our next piece. And you can print a scary image, like I said. You can do things like I have a ghost. You could also do things like spiders or snakes or vampires, whatever scares you. Or you even don't have to do something scary if you don't want to. You can always create just a funny picture as well. But here's my ghost that is all cut out. So the next step is going to be to take my cellophane, and I'm going to attach it to the back of my puppet so that you'll be able to see the cellophane peeking through. Now obviously, just like this, it doesn't look so good. We have all this extra. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna trim my piece of cellophane down so that it will easily cover up the holes. So I just have to do a little more trimming on the top here. Now as you see here, that perfectly covers all 3 of my holes. So what I'm going to do for our third step is I'm going to attach this. So this is where you could use either glue or tape. And just for ease, I'm going to use some tape here. So I've got 3 pieces that I'm going to use to adhere the cellophane. So it looks just like so. You can't see the edges. The final step is going to be to take our craft stick, and again, you can either glue or tape it down to your puppet. This is just going to make it a little easier to handle when you're shining your light through it, like so. So now here's the fun part. We get to test out our shadow puppets. You can use any sort of light to see if your shadow puppet works, like a flashlight, or in my case, I'm going to use the light on my phone. So here's our fun shadow puppet, so let's see. Moving my light closer makes it bigger, but if you see here on the wall, all those red spots are from the cellophane that we attached to the back, so that makes it look really cool. He's going woo. And here's our shadow puppet. Like I said before too, if you don't want to make something scary, you can always do something silly or fun, or see if you can make enough puppets that you could tell your own spooky story with. That could be a fun way for Halloween. Hi everybody, this is Miss Mary again, here with another one of our Fear Factor activities. Today we will be doing our bloody brains. For this activity you will need the following ingredients. Some Rice Krispie treats. You can either make them at home or buy them in the package from the store like we have. You will also need either some red food gel like we have here or red frosting. You can also use some fruit jam if you want an added effect, like we have some strawberry jam here. And you will also need a knife or some sort of cutlery piece that you can use. The first step in this activity is going to be to shape your brain. You are going to take your Rice Krispie treat, and I've already removed one from the package. You are going to roll it into kind of a sphere shape, either a circle or an oval, however you want to shape your brain, like so. If you are using homemade Rice Krispie treats for this, one suggestion is to do it when they're a little warmer, kind of just out of the pot when you're making them, but you'll want to coat your hands in some oil to make the warm marshmallows not stick to you as much. But after you make your sphere like so, you're going to take it on a plate and you're just going to kind of smush it down a little bit just to kind of give a flat bottom for your brain. Next, we're going to take our knife or other cutlery piece, you can use a fork or a spoon, and we're going to carefully turn it so we have the handle. Now next, you're going to use that handle of your piece of cutlery to kind of gently press in the middle so we can make our split in our brain like so. Now here's the fun part for our bloody brains. Now you can use some of that food gel or frosting or jam, and we're gonna make the blood in our brains. So I'm gonna take some of this red, and I wanna make sure you can see the middle part of the brain. So I'm gonna spread it out like so. You don't have to use a toothpick for this part. You can use a knife or a spoon or even your fingers if you want. I'm gonna add some of the jam on here. We're gonna make all the veins and gooey parts that are on the side of our brain. And this is when you can get creative. You can make this how creepy and messy you want. You could even be extra creative, and if you don't want to make this with red food gel or frosting, you could even try some other colors. You could make a zombie brain with like green frosting, or you could do orange. You could do some sort of like pumpkin brain. Whatever colors you would like. These are your brains. They can be however you picture them. So here we go. So here is my bloody brain.
everyone, it's Miss Jess. Today I'm going to show you how to make a really easy, fun science experiment called Fizzy Crawlers. For this experiment, you're going to need the following: baking soda, measurement cup, I have here a half cup, any sort of food coloring, a bug, some water, vinegar, and a bowl to put everything in. First, you are going to take the baking soda and put it into any of your measuring cups. So again, I have a half cup measurement. If you want to make more of the fizzy concoction, you can always do it in a bigger cup. So we're going to start with this, add it to our bowl. Next, we're going to take a little bit of water and we're going to very slowly start adding a bit of water into the bowl as well. And this is the part where it's going to get messy. You're going to take whichever food coloring you would like. I decided on red this time. And put a few drops in. And with your hands or with a spoon if you'd like, you're gonna start mixing everything together, and the goal is to make this into a bit of a paste. So right now it's a little bit crumbly, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more water, because if you add too much water, it's going to become really soupy, and you don't want it to be soupy either. And once you've added the right amount, you should be able to make it into a ball. Now mine is a little bit too watery, so I think what I'll do is I'll add just a smidge more baking soda. Perfect. The goal is to make it into something that you can roll into a ball, or you can make it into a flat pancake shape. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to grab your bug and you are going to place it in between your baking soda mixture. And again, you can make it into a ball. Mine is probably going to be a little bit flatter, but once you have it completely covered, you're going to want to set it aside and let it take about 3 hours at least. I left mine overnight till it's completely dry. So I'm going to move this one to the side until it dries, but I already made a couple examples from yesterday. And you're going to want to be careful, because once they dry, they might be a little bit delicate. They might start crumbling already. So have them on a plate. You're going to want to take some vinegar and you're going to want to slowly pour it on top of your fizzy concoctions. And you can watch it start to have a chemical reaction with the baking soda. And as more vinegar is being added, you can start to see all of the baking soda is dissolving and breaking away. And you can slowly start to see the hidden bugs underneath. Can you guess what bugs are coming out of these shells?